Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our monthly meeting of the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals. And as is our custom at this time, I'd like to introduce Officer Ott, who's with the Cobb County Police Department. He is here representing all our public servants. And if we'd all please rise, Officer Ott will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Officer Ott. Again, this is our monthly meeting of the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals. For those of you that are here for the first time, let me give you a little insight on how we're going to conduct the meeting. The first thing that we're going to concern ourselves with is the consent agenda. These are applications that not only this board has reviewed, but our professional and our engineering staff have reviewed. To our known knowledge, there's no known opposition to any of these particular cases, so we will proceed forward with Mr. Peterson, John Peterson, reading these into the record. As he does, the applicant, he or she, will identify themselves by raising their hand. And likewise, if there's anybody here in opposition to any of these particular cases, if they would identify themselves. If we do have any opposition to these particular cases, we will pull that case and hear it in its regular numeric order as it comes up. The next course of business will be our regular agenda. Again, Mr. Peterson will read these into the record. At that time, the applicant again will identify themselves, and likewise, if there's anybody here in opposition, they will also identify themselves. Our officer of the day is Ms. Kim Wakefield. Ms. Wakefield will ask those that are going to give testimony to come forward. You will be sworn in, and all testimony will be given to the podium to my right. At that time, the applicant will have a 10-minute period to make their presentation to this board, and likewise and collectively, those in opposition will have a 10-minute period to make their opposition known to this board. With that said, I'm going to ask Mr. Peterson if there's any special announcements that need to be made at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are some announcements we need to make before we start the agenda. There are 3 cases on today's agenda which have been withdrawn and will not be heard today. First case is V101, Frank and Mary Mosley. That case has been withdrawn and will not be heard today. Variance case V105, Del Taco LLC. That case has been withdrawn and will not be heard today. And lastly, variance case V107, Frank Ward. That case has been withdrawn and will not be heard today. Mr. Chairman and Board, there are 3 cases on your printed agenda which have been continued by the staff of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and these cases will not be heard today. First case is variance case V52, Mark William and Sally Stewart Money. That case has been continued until the August 12th variance hearing. Variance case V82, Philip Wallace. That case was continued by the Board of Zoning Appeals until the August 12th variance hearing. Lastly, variance case V96, Len Pagano Jr. That case was continued by the staff until the August 12th variance hearing, so that case will not be heard today. Additionally, Mr. Chairman, there is one case that is asking for continuance. The applicant is here. Variance case V98, Wham Douglas LLC. I believe they want to continue their case, Mr. Chairman, to continue to work with the neighborhood and maybe revise the plan a little bit.
Okay. For the purpose of the record, Mr. Moore, if you would, please give us your name and tell us what you want.
Certainly, and thank you. Kevin Moore here on behalf of the applicant and owner. And we've had several meetings and discussions with area and adjoining residents to this property where we have proposed variance requests. We would like to continue to have those discussions. Some of those residents have asked us to continue the case. So those discussions can be ongoing as we work with them to help better explain our variance request as well as get more specific in some of the concerns or be able to address the concerns that they've raised. So for us to be able to allow that opportunity, we very much appreciate granting of a continuance, and we feel like we can address those concerns and bring this back to you next month if you would so allow.
Okay, for the purpose of the record, is anybody here representing the opposition here today on this particular case, V98? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. Mr. Gunther represents the district, so I'm going to turn it over to Skip, if you would, please.
Yes, I'm familiar with the discussions that have been going on, that are underway, and I support a continuation. I would make a motion that we continue this to our next meeting.
Got a motion, have a second by Ms. Williams. No other comments, call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're going to continue V98 with a vote of 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Peterson.
Yes, sir. I would like to ask the people in today's audience to please turn your cell phones off if you have a cell phone. The ringing does interfere with the broadcast, so if you have a cell phone, please turn it off. The following announcement concerns variance applications requesting backyard chickens relating to the official code of Cobb County, Chapter 134-94-4, adopted by the Board of Commissioners on February 26, 2013. Applicants are advised that variance applications requesting backyard chickens, which are approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals, takes the form of a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners, who makes the final determination whether to grant the special exception for the backyard chickens. There is one case on today's agenda which this rule applies, and that's variance case B77, U Stith. The applicant is instructed that if the Board of Zoning Appeals approves this application, that a representative would need to be present at the Board of Commissioners zoning hearing on Tuesday, August 18, 2015. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to start the consent agenda.
Let's jump right in, John. Thank you.
Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals, variance hearing consent agenda for July 15, 2015. Variance case V77, U Stith, request a authorization upon appeal relating to the minimum lot size of 2 acres required to maintain poultry as pets or a food source, and to allow an accessory structure on a lot without a primary structure for the proposed chicken coop in land lot 288 of the 20th District. The property is located on the west side of East New Salem Common, north of Burnt Hickory Road. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval for 12 months, subject to the chicken coop to be located in the southwestern part of Tract B within the existing garden area. Is the applicant present? I'll let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V77? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V97, Samuel Roth requests a variance to waive the rear setback, required 35 feet to 27 feet. In land lot 20 of the 1st District, the property is located on the southeast corner of Chimney Springs Drive and Stone Hollow Way. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following condition. Site plan received by the Zoning Division on April 22nd, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicants are here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V97? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V100, Jose Medina, requests a variance to allow an accessory structure on proposed lot number 2 without a primary structure in land lot 131 of the 17th District. The property is located on the southwest corner of Schaefer Drive and Favor Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Lot 2 to have a 25-foot paved driveway apron along the public road, and development and inspections to inspect the existing structure for compliance to building code prior to use of the building. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant here for V100, Jose Medina? Is there anyone here opposed to this application? We'll give him a call, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
He's not here presently.
Yes, indeed.
Variance case V103, Jared Johnson, requests a variance to waive the side setback from required 10 feet, 3 feet, adjacent to the southern property line, and waive the side setback for an accessory structure under 144 square feet for an approximately 100 square foot metal building from required 5 feet to 4 feet in land lot 202 of the 16th District. The property is located on the east side of Meadow Way, south of Shallowford Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the site plan received by the Zoning Division on May 13th, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V103?
Ma'am, come up here and we'll see if we can you have to stand at the podium. We normally don't take questions, so,
Oh, I'm sorry.
well, that's all right. Just go ahead and ask it anyway, ma'am.
I've never been to one of these. I live in the neighborhood, and I just am trying to understand what the variance means. Is the variance just to allow the building?
Okay.
That's right.
Get her name, Lord.
Yeah, I'll tell you, for the purpose of the record, let me get your name, please, ma'am. Give me your name, please.
Oh, I'm Jennifer Benson.
Okay, now, John, would you answer that question?
Yeah, the variance is just for the building that's there right now.
Because I walk every day and, there's activity there and it's not causing any problems, but my concern is this likely to change the zoning for the subdivision?
No, it's not.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so it wouldn't allow businesses
No.
to come in? Okay, thank you very much.
Does that answer your question? That does answer your question?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Okay, John, so 103, I guess we're okay with it.
Yes.
Is there anybody else in opposition to case 103? All right, John, let's just leave that on consent,
Okay.
and let's go to 104.
Yes, sir. Variance case of V104, R&R Developers and D&G Properties request a variance to waive the side setback from required 20 feet to 0.5 feet adjacent to the western property line in land lot 174 of the 20th District. The property is located on the southwest side of Barrett Park Drive and on the north side of Roberts Boulevard. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to development and inspections comments, site plan review comments, and fire department comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V104? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V106, Jeffrey and Bettina O'Shager request a variance to waive the minimum public road frontage, requires 75 feet to 20 feet, for proposed lot number 2 in land lot 292 of the 20th District. The property is located on the south side of Creek View Point. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to stormwater management comments and sewer comments. The applicant's representative is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V106? Yes, sir, here in opposition. All right, there's one
All right.
person opposed, we'll pull that off, Mr.
We
Chairman.
will pull 106 and hear that as it comes up in its regular numeric order. Okay. Last one is 108, John.
Yes, sir. Variance case V108, J.D. Williams, request a variance to waive the front setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 1,500 square foot detached garage, required 100 feet to 0 feet, allow an accessory structure for the approximately 1,500 square foot detached garage to be located to the front of the primary structure, and allow an accessory structure to be located closer to the side street than the primary structure. In land lot 146 of the 20th District, the property is located on the southwest corner of Stylesboro Lane and Morris Hill Church Road, and on the north side of Giles Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the detached garage is not to be used for commercial or residential dwelling purposes. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V108? Let the record show there's no one opposed, and that completes the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
John, let's go back to 100. I believe the applicant has shown up.
Is Jose Medina there? The applicant is here now.
Okay, you want to read it back into the record, please, John?
Yes, sir. Variance case V100, Jose R. Medina, request a variance to allow an accessory structure on proposed lot number 2 without a primary structure in land lot 131 of the 17th District. The property is located on the southwest corner of Schaefer Road and Favor Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to lot 2 to have a 25-foot paved driveway apron along the public road, and development and inspections to inspect the existing structure for compliance to building code prior to use of the building. The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V100? Let the record show there's no one opposed. And that completes the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, it's back to this board for discussion with the exception of case B106, which we will hear. Is there any comments from board members? Not hearing any comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Got a motion? I have a second by Ms. Williams. No other comments. Call for the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, that carries for approval 4-0. Now, for those of you that are here on the consent agenda, your business is complete with us for today. You're welcome to stay, or you're welcome to leave. If you leave, please leave quietly, and we'll continue on with our business. So again, those on the consent agenda, you're all complete. You can leave. Thank you. All right, John, as they're leaving, I guess B99 would be our first hearing case.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Variance case of V99, Karen Lee Shearer and Bennett J. Fry Sr. request a variance to waive the front setback for proposed lot number 1 from required 50 feet to 12 feet, waive the rear setback for proposed lot number 2 from required 40 feet to 12 feet, and allow an accessory structure for the existing 360 square foot shed number 1 and existing 240 square foot shed number 2 to be to the side of the principal building in land lots 57 and 58 of the 19th district. The property is located on the north side of Friendship Church Road, west of Castile Road. The applicant's representative is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V99? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
My name is Tim Bailey.
Have you been sworn in yet, or are you an attorney?
I'm an attorney.
All right, just wait, let me get the other two people sworn in, and then we'll start. For those of you watching at home, we don't swear attorneys in, we just swear the honest people in first, so. Now, with that said, sir,
You have a way of making me feel right at home. Thank you.
and I apologize for that, that's just a little inside joke.
been called worse.
If you would, give us your name and tell us which one.
My name is Tim Bailey.
Okay.
I represent the applicants. And just to clarify, the applicants also include Pamela Ann Tooker and her husband Anthony Tooker.
Okay?
We added them by amendment.
All right, sir, tell us what you want.
Okay, we are requesting, as Mr. Peterson said, a reduction in the setback line on the front from 50 feet to 12 feet. That's of lot 1, and then from 40 feet to 12 feet on the back setback line for lot 2. Ms. Shearer and Mr. Fry have owned parcel 18 for a number of years. It's 2.57 acres. And again, they've owned it for over 25 years. This has actually been in Ms. Shearer's family for longer than that. In all that time, several structures other than their house has been built on that, including a couple barns and things like that, which is the reason we're here today. Of that approximately 2.57 acres, Mr. Fry and Ms. Shearer wanted to give their daughter and her husband a lot to build their house, so to be right next to them on their property. In order to comply with the zoning, it had to be 30,000 square feet, so they have had a surveyor carve out a portion of exactly 0.69 acres. Now, in order to do that, they had to, and keep the barn on Ms. Shearer's property, they had to kind of make the line in the back of the front lot.
Let me stop you for a second, Tim. Would it be wise to put up the site plan? If we could put that on the board. And
Okay, that'd be
you
great.
can walk us through it. Yeah.
Okay.
You'll
see it in a
I
minute.
tell you what, just give him a couple seconds to get that up, and then we'll put it up on the board. We can all follow you all at the same time. I think it'll make it a lot easier. Now, we'll also give you a microphone and a pointer that you could walk us through it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. The front lot, this is the entire 2.57 acres that they've owned for years. The front lot, which is known as Lot 2 on this plat, is the 0.69 acres that they conveyed to Mr. and Ms. Tooker. Now, in order to do that, you'll see there's kind of instead of just going straight back, in order to keep this shed right here on the big property, the surveyor did the line across and then down and then across. Okay, so what that has done, as you can imagine, and as you can see, is that the shed, which has been there and has been existing for years, because of where he put the line, is now only 12 feet from that line. Okay, that line is the front setback line for the back property and is the rear setback line for the front property. So what we're asking is, because that shed is only 12 feet away, we're asking that the front setback line of this one be changed from 50 feet to 12 feet. The rear setback line on this one be changed from 40 feet to 12 feet. As far as what you see when you're out there, nothing's changing. The barn's not moving, they're not building it. When you stand over here and look at this barn, this shed, you don't see anything because obviously you don't see property lines. So as far as what it looks like, nothing's changing. All of the adjoining landowners have all consented, and that's in the application. As far as the staff, they either had no comments or they stated that there would be no adverse impact to do this. And so we're asking for a variance in order to change the setback lines to 12 feet.
Anything else you want to tell us?
No, sir.
How about the young ladies? Anything they want to add to what you've said? Come on up here and give me your name, please, first,
My name is Karen Scherer.
and tell us what you want to say.
My father has owned this property over 50 years. Of course, he passed away, and it's been developed all around us, and it's zoned 30,000 square feet. On one side, it's 20,000, and the other side 30, and there's a large retention area where no one lives. Because of some of the new, I don't know if it's new codes or not, but our house has to retain so much square foot on Friendship Church Road, so that's why another little notch comes out of there at the top. And in order to keep the 30,000 square feet, that's another reason why it's a little configured the way it is. And
Okay.
of course, we're going to build a house for my daughter on that property.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell us?
No.
Anything from the other young lady? She's the one getting the house, I bet.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. All right, is there anybody here in opposition to case V99 would like to speak? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. Mr. Gunter represents the district, so Skip, if you would, lead us in the discussion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's not an awful lot to say. It seems like it's pretty straightforward to me, and I'm ready to make a motion to approve.
I don't think we have questions. I understand what they're doing.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve application V99, subject to all staff comments.
Motion, second, Ms. Swanson. No other comments, call for the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, any opposed? Carries for approval, 4-0. You both did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day. And good luck with the new house.
Thanks.
All right, John, where am I?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
No. You're here for case V106? That has not been heard yet. That'll come up. Okay. John, let's get back to,
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Variance
Right.
case V102, Amelia Flurry requests a variance to waive the front setback from required 40 feet to 30 feet in land lot 977 of the 16th District. The property is located on the west side of Indian Hills Parkway, north of High Green Drive. The applicants are present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V102? Let the record show that there are three people here in opposition. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
okay, we're at case V102. The applicant, are you ready to make your presentation? Everybody been sworn in?
Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous.
That's okay. Just come on up here first.
First time I'm about to play this. And
Wait a minute. Before you do anything, give me your name.
my name is Brett Flurry. I'm representing my wife for this variance. What I'm doing is I'm setting a timer just so I can track my speed here.
Okay?
So I had a couple things I want to say, and I got a speech prepared, and if you wouldn't mind,
You have 10 minutes, sir.
if I do it good, it'd be less than 30. Well, we've done 30 seconds to
Just
spare.
take your time. You're doing okay.
All right, here we go. Thank you all for for your time today to hear our variance application regarding 913 Indian Hills Parkway. To start, we want to take a brief moment to clarify a common misconception with regards to this application. However, before doing so, we wish to say that we absolutely realize it sounds unusual to talk about a home pool this size while using the word hardship in the same sentence. So for a moment, we wish to ask that you not consider the actual home and pool for which we have planned. The fact is that there is obviously a sewer running through the middle of the backyard. Where there seems to be some confusion is that we never claimed that the sewer alone is the reason for the hardship. Rather, it is the particular position of the public sewer on one of the smallest lots in the neighborhood, which we believe has created an extraordinary and exceptional condition that presents an unnecessary hardship and prevents us from enjoying the property in the manner intended and customary for the
Brett,
zone.
let me interrupt you a second. Why don't you just slow down a little bit? You might be going a little too fast. You've got plenty of time. Just take it easy.
And yes, it is, okay.
Take your
And
time.
yes, it is true that we are planning a sizable home and a pool. However, we feel it is much more important to note that we are not building a home bigger than that is customary for the neighborhood, a lot this size and the zoning within East Cobb. When the sewer line is not considered, the site plan fits easily within the existing build lines and impervious allowance. We love this property and it deserves a new home just as much as any other lot. We picked this lot for very particular reasons. In fact, we actually solicited this unlisted home and made an offer well above appraisal. We were drawn to the property as it offers incredible views of the golf course and ironically is very private with no neighbors across the street are visible from the backyard. Of course, the property isn't perfect. In fact, the undersized lot is absolutely one of the smallest properties in the neighborhood, sitting under the 20,000 square feet. Add to this a minor collector road, which requires an additional 5-foot setback as well as a 5-foot right-of-way, and the public sewer, which with setbacks places restrictions on 30 feet or nearly half of the backyard, and while things get difficult. Even so, we really loved the property and wanted to see it work out. To be clear, we considered several alternatives in order to avoid a variance, but we found that our options were limited. The most obvious alternative has to be regarding the home plan itself. It's important to point out that obviously, given the high value of the land, a certain type of home is necessary to justify the land cost. And along those same lines, a modest backyard for a pool is normally expected. That said, we went to work and spent countless days discussing dozens of different home plans, but nothing seemed to fit, including side entry garage plans. We assure you it didn't matter which way you went, finding a reasonable home for the property was not easy. Aside from the other floor plans, we considered other options as well, which we'll discuss the question, but we've cut for the sake of time. Nevertheless, with no other alternatives available, we moved forward with the variance at the suggestion of the county. For relief, we needed to adjust the front setback, for which we suggested 30 feet after much consideration for the neighborhood. The proposed setback would have positioned the home at the same distance from the road as allowed on the more common local roads. To be clear, the variance has a lot of support. We walked the neighborhood recently and met several of our neighbors. I am submitting today additional signatures that we received during our visit. While walking the neighborhood, not a single person we came across expressed any opposition to our variance. In fact, we had the support of those closest to the property, including the neighbor to our right who strongly prefers the variance, as well as support from all 3 households immediately across the street who back up to it. With regards to the signatures, each one represents an individual household, and with the exception of one, our neighbors either on or bordering Indian Hills Parkway, with the lone exception only being a few houses away. It is also our understanding that the county, especially water, seems to appreciate the variance as it includes removing an existing pool which is not built to code. Even so, this still does not reflect everyone that supports this variance. The one neutral party has to be our neighbor to the left who lives in Israel. We have attempted to notify him by mail as well as email, and neither I nor Ms. Swatson have heard from him. However, just as we have support, we also have opposition. Initially, the opposition was led by the efforts of a few individuals within the Indian Hills Civic Association. We wish to point out that even though they are represented here today, the association's decision was not unanimous. In fact, there was actually a board member who had written us strongly in favor of our variance as they see clear benefits to the community. Ms. Watson has also been made aware of some opposition from a few neighbors outside the association as well. That said, together we are aware of only 1 out of over 70 homes on Indian Hills Parkway that is in opposition. The main point seems to be that several homes on this road sit at 50 feet or further back. We can't argue with that fact, seeing as when the neighborhood was built, there were covenants requiring it to sit at 50 feet. However, what seems to be overlooked is that within the last 3 years, nearly every single home sold on this street was new construction. Even homes not sold were demolished. In fact, there are currently 6 homes on this street that are either under construction or planning to be so, or for listed to do so. Yes, it is true that a few new homes on the larger lots do in fact sit the original setback, but today there are also plenty of homes that sit way closer. Better yet, due to the complexity of building codes, such as corner lots, there's actually several existing homes facing towards Indian Hills Parkway, which sit at the same distance or even closer than what we are representing here today. In addition, the particular lot the particular lot actually sits on a curb. As you can see in the pictures on the monitor above, is practically indistinguishable from the home next door that is sitting at the 50-foot marker. The curb also results in our proposal being no more visible down the road than the current home. The photo right here, taken from our right, is even better. From the other side, the property of this home is not even visible due to the mature landscaping that we tend to keep. Even though we politely disagree with the opposition, we realize that they will be our neighbors and we wish to be friendly. In consideration of their noted concerns, we are proposing to modify our variance to 35 feet and amend it to include a landscape buffer as well. Although perhaps for other reasons, this makes our setback for all intents and purposes the same as several other homes found on the street. The exceptional conditions for the hardship seem straightforward to us. We maintain that the position of the sewer is very unusual, as most sewers, even in this neighborhood, run across property lines as they should, not through backyards. Unfortunately, moving the sewer today makes zero sense due to changes in the code which double its width and cause further restrictions on the lot. However, had the sewer originally been placed just 10 feet further back under the older code, we would not have had a problem or need for a variance. Alternatively, had the property been just a small fraction, about 5% deeper, we would also not have a need for a variance, keeping in mind it's undersized. Nevertheless, we firmly believe that we have the valid conditions to create a hardship. The fact is a property this size cannot properly support a sewer this far into it without some difficulty. So the final question comes down to the hardship itself. Fortunately, as you all know, Cobb County Code defines an unnecessary hardship as a situation not of a person's own making, which is a problem unique for a specific property. We obviously didn't cause the situation, and we truly believe it is unique based on the position of the sewer. The fact remains the issue is so unique that if the original sewer line were a mere 10 feet further back, we wouldn't have a need for the variance. Yes, it is true that we are claiming it is a reasonable expectation to be able to enjoy a pool on the property of this size, but that also happens to be the same reason given by plenty of variances in the past, even in this neighborhood, which have requested additional impervious. Our relief may be different, but it's just as minor given the fact other homes sit at 35 on this road for other reasons, that we are seeking the same setback offered by most homes in R20, and it just can't be ignored that the actual front door of this design is 80 feet from the road. In closing, the variance originally was to have the home at 45 feet with a 45 feet from the road with a 35-foot setback. The same distance as the majority of R20 homes once right-of-way is considered. We have since presented an offer to reduce our request by 5 feet as a sign of goodwill, as it aligns with several other homes in the street. Given we can show plenty of homes facing the street at 35 or less, we failed to see how offering us relief through a similar setback would be negative to the neighborhood. Looking back, we could have better presented our original application. We understand the very motion of claiming a hardship around a pool with a home this size can rub some individuals the wrong way. However, we have to consider the facts, and the truth is if the sewer wasn't there, or even if it was just a mere 10 feet back, the property would easily support our plans. In the end, we are not building anything bigger than is customary for the neighborhood, a lot this size, and zoning within East Cobb. We are merely seeking minor relief so that we may enjoy the property in the manner normally allowed for the lot. Our application aside, one last note is that we wish to address the impact of a denial may have on the family selling the property. After pursuing all appeal options, should we decide to back out, the homeowners are unlikely to find another offer matching $30,000 over the appraised. Worse though, they are now under contract on another home and will be forced to sell this one with the disclosure that I have discovered that their pool was built out to code. The 45-year-old home is falling apart. Amy, if you'll go forward a couple. Is falling apart and in all honesty will likely continue to do so until someone addresses the problems with this property. In the end, we believe granting the variance offers more benefits than not. We benefit from being able to enjoy the property as typically allowed. Our neighbors will enjoy the golf views. The neighborhood benefits from a comp value that's well over appraisal. And the public benefits from us significantly improving the property value and correcting numerous code violations made by developers long gone. In no way do we believe the request for relief remotely causes substantial detriment to the public good or impair the purposes and intent of the code, especially as there are other homes on this very street, again for different reasons, that sit at the same 35 feet that we were requesting. I guess the only question we have left to ask is that to the opposition. It's one that we've asked them a couple times now at Kim's recommendation, and that is that are they willing to consider our sincere offer for a compromise of 35 feet, and if not, why so? Thank you all for your time, and I'm sorry I'm a nervous wreck. Thank you.
Did a very good job. Your time is up. Thank you very much. If you just have a seat, at this time, we will hear from the opposition. All right, sir. Again, if you would, give us your name, please, and then tell us which one.
Yes, my name is Roger Phelps. I'm a 27-year resident of Indian Hills and a 22-year member of the Board of Directors of the Civic Association. While I'm also a member of the East Cobb Civic Association, I'm here representing Indian Hills today. I have a petition signed by 9 Indian Hills property owners, 7 of those on this specific block, in opposition to this zoning request variance. The Board of Directors of the Indian Hills Civic Association had a presentation on June 29th by the applicant for this variance, followed by a questions and answer session. We also have done a significant amount of research as well as getting input from others in our subdivision and coming to our conclusion to support our position of requesting that you deny this application. Our bylaws and our Civic Association require a 2/3 vote approval to take a public position on any issue, and on that June 29th meeting, we had a vote which met those requirements. I believe the gentleman that the applicant referred to who was in favor of it happens to be the president of our Civic Association and has recused himself because of personal relationships with the applicant or the applicant's family. The applicant requests a reduction in the front setback from 40 to 30 feet to give him space to build a swimming pool in this lot when he builds his new house. We fail to see a hardship as defined by the code. We feel the applicant has failed to meet the requirements of the county's code, Section 134-94A3. The four-part definition of the required unnecessary hardship. First is that there are no extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property in question because of size, shape, or topography. The applicant claims that the sewer easement crossing this lot creates a hardship by making it difficult to properly fit a pool. The sewer easement is neither extraordinary nor exceptional to this property. Is that in focus for y'all? Because
No, he'll focus. He needs to focus it in a little bit. Okay?
can you get the whole page? That's good. Is the mic live? This diagram shows the block in question. This highlighted house is the lot in question. There are 14 houses from Clubland Drive to High Green, and this green line shows that's the sewer easement along every house on that block of Indian Hills Parkway. In Indian Hills, there are approximately 1,361 R20 lots. Of that 1,361 lots, 237 include a sewer easement. It's not unique or extraordinary in our subdivision to have a sewer easement. As you saw, every house on that block has a sewer easement. The application of this chapter of our code says a particular piece of property would create an unnecessary hardship. Having a sewer easement and not being able to have a swimming pool, which is a want of the applicants included with the house, is not a hardship. Over the last 10 years, there have been 54 teardowns of existing houses and $1 million priced rebuilds in Indian Hills, 54. Of those 54, only 11 have a swimming pool. So I can't agree that not having a swimming pool in $1 million house is a hardship. Also, those 54 teardowns, we've had 0 requests for a front yard setback variance. And to the best of my memory, and I've been on the board for 20 plus years, although we mentioned that there have been some impervious area requests, variances, I don't remember any. Not having a swimming pool in a $1 million house is not a hardship. The applicant has acknowledged that he can and says he will build the home he has designed on this lot even without a variance. The footprint of the house he wants to build will fit on the lot without a variance for the swimming pool. Indian Hills was fortunate enough to have been developed with virtually all of our houses significantly exceeding the minimum front setbacks required by the county code, which gives Indian Hills a spacious, unique character. And while the applicant indicated that this would not be closer than most houses in Indian Hills, I respectfully would challenge that. The average home from the street, distance from a home on the street on this particular block, is over 60 feet. Our original developer, Cousins Properties, extended the front setbacks far and exceeding the normal requirement of our county code. The 14 houses on this block and the vast majority of houses in Indian Hills average over 65 feet from the street. The picture that the applicant showed of 501 Indian Hills Parkway is on the corner at Lower Roswell Road, Indian Hills Parkway, and according to some older residents in our subdivision, that was a show home, a selling house when a second, third phase of our development was built. It's one of very few that would be anywhere near that close to the street. The majority of our homes are well in excess of 65 feet from the street. The new house proposed would only be 45 feet from the street. In this case, he's moved it, I believe, what'd you change?
It's 50 feet.
Well, it was 15 and 30 be 45, but you said you wanted to change it.
50 and 35. From 49.
All right, Mr. Phelps, about 3.5 minutes left.
Give me credit for adjusting and getting these slides, please. This shows the existing property with the sewer line, which he's already indicated. The red outline is virtually the scale of the house he wants to build. This is the setback line he's requested. And it shows that from the house on the south, it's 42 feet from in front of that particular property and 36 feet on the closest house to the north. I have, again, in deference to our applicant, I have an email from the owner of this property asking very strongly that this variance not be granted. He is in Israel, he owns the property, he's been informed and has seen information about the variance, and he opposes the variance. I've been unable to contact the lady who lives here, Kate Summers. She's out of town, out of state, and I'm unable to contact her. And while the landscaping will definitely hide the house from this property, it will not hide it from anybody driving up and down the street or the other neighbors. Granting this variance would be detrimental to the character and livability of Indian Hills. While technically it would not set a precedent, it would encourage others to request various kinds of variances and would cause substantial detriment to the public good of Indian Hills and impair the purpose and intent of the chapter by redefining hardship. This applicant has asked for reduced front setbacks so he can have a swimming pool, which is without hardship as required by the county code. Landscaping cannot hide the location of the planned house. You have received emails and a signed petition requesting that you deny the variance from several homeowners in this same block. An email from the homeowner on the one side who is in Israel, who violently is opposed to the variance, as well as the owners of several other homes in Indian Hills. And because our president recused himself, you've received emails from 4 past presidents of our civic association opposing this variance request. The builder of several of the homes, the large, we call them McMansions, in Indian Hills, has also sent you a letter, Al Donnan, requesting that this variance not be granted. Every home he's built has been placed within the setback confines of the code. And several other residents have also asked you to deny it. The Indian Hills Civic Association Board of Directors joins with this long list of persons in requesting that you deny this variance in V102.
You done? Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jill Flam. I'm case manager for V102 with East Cobb Civic Association. The applicant seeks to build a specific size house and pool on this piece of property that has a sewer running through the backyard. There is no hardship due to shape or topography of the land, and the neighbors will not be harmed if he complies with the code. The applicant can build a smaller house with a pool or build the house without a pool without seeking a variance. Or as he has now purchased a property, look for another place to put his home. He just cannot do everything that he wants to do on this particular piece of land. Many pieces of property in Cobb County have elements to them that prevent people from building everything they want on their land. Sewer, water, stormwater, power lines, and creeks are but a few to name. However, should these be considered hardships for variances to allow for pools, fire pits, outdoor kitchens, or sheds to violate the code? ECCA feels that this will open the door for variances to have been granted on any lot that is less than perfect in the eyes of the property owner. It would redefine hardship. ECCA recommends denial of this petition. We feel that the granting of this application will add to the list of grounds for a hardship that anything on a piece of property that does not permit an owner to build what they want, and it will change the definition of the hardship. Thank you.
Thank you. We are right out of time. Just to clarify, Mr. Phelps did present a petition. Did you present a petition to the, okay? And did you present your petition too?
I don't know if she has an update.
If you would just give it to her, please. We'll get those all on the record. Okay, I declare the public session over, complete, and Ms. Kim Swanson represents District 2. So Ms. Swanson, let's lead us in a discussion, please.
I received a number of people who have emailed me and the other commissioners as well opposing this variance. 7 homes on Indian Hills Parkway have been in opposition due to the fact that it was 30 foot from the setback and it was because of the pool. The required setback is that of 40. The applicant, Mr. Fleury, presented me with his signatures that he got this past weekend with homes along Indian Hills and High Green Road and Century Crossing. And of those signatures, 6 were along Indian Hills with the signature of the lady to the right who has no problem with this variance at all, who would have been affected by the variance. I received, just before this hearing started, I received an email from Mr. Phelps from Uri Rabinozan, who's the owner of the house on 901 Indian Hills Parkway, that's to the left. I did not receive this email. I just checked all my emails. I checked my junk email and I checked my trash email, and so I didn't receive this email, and I don't know if the other commissioners on the board, but the email that I received is pretty much in line with the emails that I've received in opposition, just saying that there is a sewer easement, and it's not unique to Indian Hills. Having a pool is not a hardship, and he can build the house meeting all of the setbacks. So it's a similar email that I have received from other people in and around the entire Indian Hills Country Club. So I've done a lot of, I've driven up and down the street numerous times. I met with the applicant. I took pictures of how this house would sit, and talked to him in a great deal. And in doing this, he has been able to push the home back and has agreed to coming in at a 35 setback versus the 30 setback. So looking at the variance and the request for approval, and then looking at what our code 13494 states, that by approving the variance, It basically would not cause harm to the public interest. It will not be unsafe to drivers. It will not encroach on public utilities, i.e. a sewer. It does not impact the golf course because it's not going into the area, it's not changing anything as it is existing now. It does not set a precedent for other properties because each variance is unique to the specific property. So when we look at variances, it isn't what happened to the home that had a variance 10 homes down or in another subdivision. It is specific to the property. Having a sewer easement places a unique issue on what and how can be built on this property. The conditions of the property are the sewer line with the 10-foot easement. If the applicant, at his own cost of $60,000 to $70,000, moved the sewer line, he would then have to come in compliance with current code, which is a 20-foot easement. There's also a unique condition to the property that I noticed, and I also noticed on several other properties. In fact, the property to the right and this property, and then the property to the left, I was watching people trying to enter onto Indian Hills Parkway. They do some maneuvering going across their front yards in order to maneuver the car around, so then they are facing Indian Hills Parkway to get onto the street. The street has a curb, and it does create some safety aspects to back up onto the street because there's a little bit of a blind spot if you are coming south, if you're coming down towards Lower Roswell on this street. So it does have a safety issue to be able to try to pull out and this maneuverability so you can go out forward. There is also a code violation of the existing pool and patio on the sewer easement and in this property, and it's also it's actually a very small lot under the R20. The applicant, again, like I have said, has gotten signatures from 11 homeowners along Indian Hills Parkway, High Green, and Century Crossing. The applicant has agreed to reduce the footprint and bring the garages back to the 35-foot build line. And in his presentation today, the front door of his house is actually 80 feet from the road. The applicant has agreed to buffer the garages. We talked about the existing buffer. So actually when you're coming down Indian Hills Parkway towards Lower Roswell, so that would be south, there is an existing tree buffer, and that will not change. He will not encroach. If that tree buffer does die because of the doing any type of work, building in that area, he has agreed to replace it of the same height. The visual impact that he showed in the photos that we all saw, and also what I experienced driving up and down this road, is that because of this curve, there's really a minimal impact of this 5-foot reduction. So it's not noticeable compared to other homes on this road where it's straight, that if you line up, yes, you could maybe see a little bit of what a 5-foot reduction would be versus a 10-foot reduction. The homes in Indian Hills Parkway, there's very many varieties of them. There's homes that have the front setback being that of 40 or greater, but then there are homes that are sitting on the corner lot, which their setbacks are different because it's a corner lot and their address isn't Indian Hills Parkway, it's another address, and so those homes they have a side setback that is different than the front setback of homes that have the Indian Hills Parkway address. So those are all the things that I've observed. I've listened to the opposition. I've read all of the letters that were sent to me, which I appreciate people reaching out with their concerns. I wasn't able to get back to everybody with what the applicant was saying, that he would be willing to pull his from 30 back to 35 feet from the rear setback. I've spent a great deal of time with the applicant. I've spent a great deal of time driving up and down the road and also talking to county staff. Our stormwater management has no comments regarding this because he is meeting the 35% impervious. So at this time, I'm ready to make a motion. I do have some stipulations that I would like to add, but if any of the commissioners have anything else they would like to ask of anybody?
Okay, it's back to the board. Any other comments, questions, discussions, anything? Kim, it's back to you.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve V 102 with the stipulation that he gets a hold harmless agreement, which has been proposed by the Cobb County Water System to allow for a 2-foot setback. So he's already negotiated or has already discussed this with Cobb County Water. And also the stipulation to provide a landscape buffer to both garages, working with the Cobb County arborist, and with the final approval of the landscape buffer to be approved by the district commissioner. And with that motion,
And that's to change the motion from 40 feet to 35 feet,
and change from 40 feet, that's right, thank you very much,
to 35 feet.
from 40 feet to 35 feet. And I'll submit in his July, since it's not marked, July 15th, 2015, I'll submit in his new foot plat that
Okay.
shows the 35-foot reduction.
All righty. All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second to that motion? Second, Ms. Williams. All right, now discussion period. Any comments? Mr. Skip?
Well, I'll just observe that I'm still having difficulty really understanding what the hardship is. I understand that not every house can have a pool on every lot, and the sewer easement is, complicating that. But I'm not sure that I understand why that's a hardship. I'm still trying to understand that part. And I'll just observe that in order to grant a variance, we normally require that there be a hardship.
Okay. Judy, you have a comment?
Well, I think Kim told that it was, and I agree with her, that the hardship was the sanitary sewer easement, which doesn't meet the code today, the sanitary sewer easement. If you went up there and removed that 10-foot sanitary sewer easement, then it has to become a 20-foot, and it'd be even more of a hardship. Besides that, I don't think you can tell that he's asking for a 5-foot difference, and I don't think if you drive up and down the road, you can tell the difference from a 5-foot to a 10-foot, so,
Plus, the advantage is that
The advantage is, yeah, exactly, he can,
you're getting rid of the
I store
the
the,
whole easement there.
and
Yeah.
we're clearing up something for the water and sewer department because there's no outstanding agreement either with the existing pool. Let's face it, the house and the pool now are ugly, and they need to be torn down.
They've become ugly.
Well, yeah, I mean, time has taken a toll. It's taken a toll on me. But I'd like to think there's hope for me.
Kim,
Yes, exactly.
you have indicated in your motion that the district commissioner would have a final say-so on the landscape plan. I notice we have the buffering on one side. Is the district commissioner going to consider buffering on the other side?
Right, it's on
As
both
far as
sides.
an arborist-approved landscape plan on that side too? Is that what your
Yes,
intention is?
that was my intention, that's what we discussed. That was what I discussed with the applicant on both sides. I felt, though, that it would be good for the neighborhood that this landscape plan is approved by the district commissioner, because he can look at it to decide what. I feel very strongly that the tree buffer right now, which is to the right of the property, that's where the garage is going to sit, so it will not impact whatsoever. You will not see any changes. I just want to make sure to the left is done tastefully and doesn't create any any issues.
And that's where the county arborists come in.
That's where the county arborist
They're
and then the
professionals.
district commissioner for final approval.
Mr.
Okay,
Gunter?
yeah, I still, okay, that raises the other question about the neighbor to the left, the one to the south, who's, I guess is in Israel, who's written an email saying that they're not, they're in opposition to this. Do we really
lives in
understand why
Israel.
there, is it
He
because,
He lives in Israel and his
He lives
house
in
is a
Israel.
rental.
I'm sorry?
He lives in Israel and his house, he uses his house as a rental.
Well,
Okay.
regardless, he's still the property owner, so I
Right,
understand
so
it.
you're suggesting that there should be some additional landscaping on that side to shield that home from the visual impact of, I guess it's a garage that's getting pushed out towards the street, right? Okay.
And that's going to be done by the district commissioner. That was my,
Right, right. I understand.
agreement. I think we as a board understand we do not want to set a precedent here. I think the applicant has shown a legitimate hardship. On the county side, we're getting rid of that swimming pool. That is an encroachment into the sanitary sewer. So that part of it is a plus. I think the fact that the district commissioner is going to have the final say-so on how and when that landscape plan is done would certainly satisfy, obviously it's going to satisfy me and I think the rest of this people on this board. Any other comments? I need to close it up. Okay, I've got a motion. I have a second. All comments complete. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, that carries for approval 4-0. Okay. It's 2 o'clock, and I think we'll just continue on. I think our last case is V106. Let's get that read into the record.
Yes, sir. Variance case B106, Jeffrey and Bettina Osheger request a variance to waive the minimum public road frontage from required 75 feet to 20 feet for proposed lot number 2 and land lot 292 of the 20th district. The property is located on the south side of Creekview Point. Earlier, there was one person here in opposition, and the applicant was present. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Kim, as we're doing that, there's a Mr. Medina right there. He can leave. He doesn't have to stay. He's already finished with us for today, or unless he wants to stay.
You can leave.
Okay, all those that are going to give testimony, come forward and let's get you sworn in.
This one or the other one? I don't think you can tell the difference riding by. You can't tell no 5-foot difference. Oh.
All right, sir, if you would, please give us your name for the record.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and board members. For the record, my name is David Meyer of DGM Land Planning Consultants. I'm representing Mr. Jeff Oshiger for case number V106. Our subject property is on Creekview Drive, just south of Burnt Hickory Drive and just east of Bob Cox Road in land lot 291 of the 1st District, 2nd section of West Cobb. As you've already seen in the package prepared by the Cobb County staff, our variance request is rather straightforward in nature. Mr. Oscar currently resides on what is shown as lot number 1 on the site plan and would like to have the ability to subdivide his current property into 2 lots. The total area of the subject property is 1.97 acres, which under its current R20 zoning could potentially yield 3 to 4 lots without going through the rezoning or variance process, potentially. That is not Mr. Oscar's goal. He simply would like to create a second lot, potentially one that would become his personal residence. As you can see from the site plan, creating the 2-lot split would yield 2 lots that are right at an acre each in size. That is over 2 times the minimum 20,000 square foot minimum that's allowed under R20 conditions. So certainly this is no scheme to inappropriately squeeze density into an area where it doesn't belong. Our public road frontage on Bob Cox is 130 feet. If that number were 150 feet, only 20 feet more, a variance would not be required in this case, and the plan could go straight into plating and recording process. But in keeping with the required 75 feet of public road frontage per lot, that necessitates our variance request. As representative of this case, I've received no objections to our petition, and as of today, and according to Mr. Peterson, as of yesterday, the county has received no objections as well. As you know, of course, this case was actually put on consent agenda prior to today. I do not have a petition, mainly due to the fact that Mr. Osiger had discussed this with a couple neighbors and had no opposition whatsoever. While we certainly respect our opposition and are interested in what they have to say, I think it's notable to point out that several other neighbors, as we said, had no opposition whatsoever to this. We don't feel this is a precedent setter by any means, due to the simple fact that a lot requires a certain amount of size to even to enable itself to even subdivide into a situation like this. Most cases, if you were subdividing and the lot was below the minimum size, you'd have to go through the full rezoning process. So this is a unique lot in terms of its size, and it's not a precedent setter. So again, I think in our conclusion, we feel this is a reasonable request. As we all know, a request such as this, in which the minimum size of required lot exceeds 2 times the required size, rarely causes objections or negative vibrations within a community. So again, I thank each of you and your professional staff for assisting us in answering our questions, and we respectfully ask for your approval of our application.
All right, David, before I release you,
Sure.
you've got plenty of time left. You might want to talk about what he plans to do with the property. He wants to build his own house there. Is it going to be 1,200 square feet, 1,800 square feet? Do you have any ideas what he wants to do? I think if you explain more of that, the folks that are in the audience might understand better.
Okay, certainly. Mr. Oskier currently resides in this residence, which is labeled lot number 1. Lot number 2 potentially would be his own residence. That has not been officially approved at this point. They're looking at what their options would be for future potential. Obviously, it would be a single-family home. It would be within the required minimum lot size, and due to this area, I can almost assure, and the price point, I can assure you it would be one probably larger than most of the houses on that street already. So he would certainly be in conformance with that. I don't have the date of when this original house was completed, but this has been here for some time. So the house that would be built would be an updated version and certainly larger in size. But as far as the specifics of it, that's not been determined at this point.
Okay. You don't want to even guess at that? I mean, would it be 1,800 square feet, 2,100 square?
I think
we're not going to hold you to
sure.
anything.
I think it'd be fair to say it'd be well over 2,100 square
That's what I
feet.
thought. Okay. And it'd be brick and stucco and
Absolutely.
all that sort of stuff, nice landscaping and.
Yes, sir.
All right, anything else you want to tell us?
I think that covers it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
If you
I
would,
appreciate it.
just please have a seat, and this time we'll hear from the opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm William F. Lawrence. I reside at the property just south of both of the lots, number 1 and 2. You can see it on the diagram.
Show me your house, south.
Where would I?
Right there? Is that it? Can you see it? See the little arrow, little hand?
That's it, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Got a nice little house there.
Thank you. We
Now-
enjoy it. We enjoy it very much.
Tell us about it.
My
Mr.
wife and I
Lawrence.
are back in Cobb County after being gone for 30 years. We've been here 6 years, and we enjoy the neighborhood and our residents thoroughly. But my wife and I are objecting for 2 reasons. One is Mr. and Mrs. Oscar have failed to properly post a zoning variance sign at the street on Creekview. I'll get into that in a moment. And secondly, they have not attempted to contact us. There is a requirement for consent of contiguous landowners for the zoning petition, I believe, and they haven't, by writing or personally, discussed any of their plans with us at all. So we had no knowledge of this until another neighbor pointed us out. On several occasions, the posted sign required for the notice of zoning variance hearing has been not readable from the street. It's been obscured. The first time I noticed it, Mr. Chairman, the sign was apparently folded along the post. You couldn't read it without having to pull the sign back. There's a restriction in the, it says the sign should not be curled. I noticed that on the Cobb County Commission website. This last weekend, on three days in a row, the sign is facing away from the street. It is not on the post, it's actually flush with the ground, curled around. I see the instructions on the back of the sign, the white side of the sign. The pink side was saying variance hearing is not facing the street and hasn't been for 3 days over the weekend. I don't know why the sign is not properly posted, but the requirement is that the notice of variance hearing has to be properly posted. And as I say, also, there is a consent form or a written notice to contiguous landowners. We have received no notice at all of what the intentions are.
Other than that part of it, what you heard today is, do you have any questions on what he intends to do? Or you want to make a comment on that?
Yes, right, I do. The concern is that building a residence, there are other residences on Creekview in front of the lot number 2. Concern I have is that you build a house on that lot back there. It's a wooded area. What would the fire department say about access to the house if there were a fire, and how would they access the property, because there's houses on the street side in front, and my property, of course, is just to the south. And I'm concerned that there may be more than one structure that's going to be built there. There's no discussion at all about what is the intention of getting the zoning variance for the shared driveway.
We'll get into the fire department. Those comments are covered in our paperwork here.
So the concern we have is that we haven't had any notification or discussion at all about what the true intentions are for the getting the zoning variance on the driveway, and then what's going to happen to lot number 2.
Anything else you'd like to bring to our attention, Mr. Lawrence?
No, sir. I'll yield to my neighbor.
Okay.
For
Thank
the rest of our time. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Ron Powell. I represent Linda Smith, who is the property owner of the property to the west side of lot number 1.
Okay.
Over. Right there. Bob Cock, right there. That's Linda Smith's residence.
Okay.
And my residence. I would like to add to Mr. Lawrence's complaint about the variance sign. There were several days in which Mr. Oshinger's neighbor, Mr. Lyons, lives to the right of Mr. Oshinger on the lot 1, had his commercial landscape truck, which is a stake body dump bed, parked in front of this sign on several days so that it could not be seen when you were coming down the road. My first appearance of the sign was I thought it was a dispelled garage sale sign until I actually took the sign, folded it out, took a picture of it. My objection to this, and as is Linda's, and I'm sure Mr. Lawrence's too, the only neighbor that has agreed to this would be Mr. Lyons, who lives to the right of Mr. Oshinger. My previous experience with Mr. Oshinger and the previous owner is Mr. Oshinger's employer, Randall Lowe, Eric Love, which was the previous owner. The previous owner was encompassed with no road frontage. All they had was an easement down our driveway, and they forcibly in 2004 tried to build several of the 1,400 square foot 2-car garage under buildings.
But that's the old owner. I really don't want to hear too much about the old owner. I just want to stay to the issue today.
Well, this new owner is becoming like deja vu all over again. We were in communication with Mr. Oshinger and his wife for some time. However, we haven't not heard from them for probably 7 months. When we were discussing to relieve the easement down our property line. They assured us at that time that being that the planning and zoning was so adamant against building a residence on this wooded lot, that they were just going to remodel the current home and build a large garage on lot 1 or 2 in back of the property. At no time has Mr. Ossinger or his wife ever come to us and said that they wanted to put a residence in here. This residence they tried to put in back in '04, and they tried to do it again in '07. The planning and zoning was very adamant that they did not want a residence built there. It's given no consideration for the houses that are on probably the east side of lot 2. It would be essentially in their backyard. That's how close that area is. My other concern is that eventually Mr. Lawrence's house, my house, Mr. Grenette's house, and the other Mr. Grenette who lives behind Mr. Lawrence, we would be encompassed by Oregon Woods neighborhood. In other words, if we got ready to sell our home and you went on the internet search to look up our home, it would come up under Oregon Woods and not come up as an individual resident on Bob Cox Road. I don't feel that Mr. Ossinger has been up front and with his neighbors about what he intends to do back there. And I feel that a variance with a shared driveway on this property is going to create problems in the future for the homeowner of home number 1.
Where is home number 1? Okay, I see what you're saying, yeah.
His residence.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Mr. Powell?
That's all I have, sir.
Okay, anybody else wishing to speak? Anybody else wishing to speak? Got a minute and a half.
Hi, my name is Linda Smith, and I own the house where it says R20.
Okay.
My big concern is the home this way from my house burned to the ground last year. Burned to the ground.
The house burned to the ground?
To the ground.
Okay.
And I can't tell you how frightening that was.
Okay.
So my concern is the fire department being able to get to anything that he might put on that property. Right. Those people lost everything they had. And I don't know how we had 11 fire trucks there. I don't know how they could possibly get to anything that's built on the other side of that property. The other problem is watershed. We have a problem with water flow coming straight across the back of those properties, even onto Mr. Oceanser's properties. He's had a problem with the water coming, and we don't know if he's planning to do anything about the water flow, or, I mean, he just hasn't talked to us.
Okay.
And we're not saying we're going to be opposed to anything he might put back there. We just don't know what he's going to do.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, I declare the public session over with. John, we've got a couple of issues that we need to deal with before I get to Mr. Gunther. First of all, with the sign. It's part of your responsibility or your department's to go out and check the signs. I assume that signs have been checked.
Well, the sign was up the day we went out there. You know, generally if a sign gets blown down or gets bent over, right, as soon as we get a call about it, we call the applicant and have them repost it properly. In this case, we never got a phone call about the sign.
Now, just to verify, the sign has to be up for 30 days, is that correct?
That's correct.
And does the applicant have to notify immediate property owners within a certain period of time?
Well, the applicant has petitioned that they can get the adjacent property owners, the signs not opposed, or if they can't get in touch with the property owners, they can send out letters. It's my understanding, and you may want to call Mr. Meyer back up here, but they may have gone to some of their neighbors and gotten negative responses on signing the petition.
Well, before I get to Mr. Gunther, let me ask Mr. Meyer to come back up. And I don't want to get into a whole, I just want to stick with one issue at this point right now. Has your company or the owner of the property sent letters or notified the surrounding property owners?
We have not in this case. While I did certainly mention to Mr. Ossinger that the petition is valuable and carries weight with regard to informing the surrounding owners, the first discussions he had were all positive, And I guess the clock ran out, so to speak,
but
prior
the
to that
answer is
going out.
the
There
po-
there was no written notification, that's correct.
And that's all I want to hear.
Okay.
All right, at this time, I'm going to turn everything over to Mr. Gunther, who represents the district. Skip?
Okay, this is turned from a consent item agenda to a discussion. And it just seems to me that there were some procedural things here that have not happened and some neighborly things that have not happened. I guess my first inclination is to just suggest that maybe what we should do is hold this so that you all have a chance to talk about this. Mr. Meyer, you have a chance to send out those letters so that you can satisfy the ordinance. And then we can come back next month if you're prepared and hear if there is any issue of substance rather than procedural kind of issues. So, yes, you have a question. Just come up to the stand then, please.
I just wanted to clarify, I usually do have a petition, and I know it's on the requirements. Obviously, you can't make a neighbor get a petition, but as far as notification of owners, I know on the variance application, it's not required. For a rezoning, it is. I just want clarification on that.
My understanding, John, is
It
it's
is.
2 weeks prior to the hearing. Is that correct for variance?
If the neighbors cannot sign a petition, then there's a mailing requirement in the application.
Okay,
to
so
notify them by mail.
if you cannot locate a neighbor, then you're required to send them a notification?
That's right.
Okay.
And it's just,
So
it's just the adjacent property owner.
Just the ones touching the property?
That's right.
Thank you.
So if we were to hold this for a month, that would give you more than enough time to
That's
do all
fine.
those
I'd
things.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, well, I don't know if there's more discussion.
Yeah, let me get a little discussion in here. First of all, what this applicant is asking for is not unusual. We see this all the time. This happens all the time. The fire department comments are in this book. They have to meet the fire department comments. The water department comments are in the book. The stormwater's in the book. They have to meet everything that's that we approve. So we cover all those things. Unfortunately, there's been a breakdown in communication. What I would suggest today, from what I've heard in this discussion, is before you leave, you all go out in the vestibule, get Mr. Meyer's card, deal with Mr. Meyer if you don't want to deal with the property owner. He's their representative. And I think Skip is absolutely right. We'll put this case on hold for 30 days. That sign will go back up. It will, Mr. Meyer, I'm going to hold you personally responsible to get that sign up where everybody going up and down that road can see it and read it. And then we'll come back in 30 days.
And I do realize the rule about the sign, and I totally agree with Mr. Lawrence. I'm not aware, when I went by, it was up. I'm not aware of it being down until today.
But I just want everybody to understand where we are. This is not an unusual case. We hear these 3 or 4 times, it's 5 or 6 times a year, so it's not unusual. With that said, I'm going to turn it back over to Skip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'd like to make a motion that we hold this case till our next hearing.
Got a motion, got a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries for approval to hold this case for 30 days till our next scheduled meeting with a 4 to 0 vote. A couple of quick announcements, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, this board needs to adopt, for the purpose of the minutes, on July the 13th and also the June 29th. I'll entertain a motion on both of those together. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Now, on a sad note, I was just informed today that our ex-commissioner Bill Cooper just passed away yesterday. I just found that out. Bill Cooper represented the West Cobb for many, many years, and I was saddened to hear that. So let's keep him in our thoughts and prayers. With that said, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. We will reconvene at 3:30 as a Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals for another hearing that we're going to do at 3:30. With that said, thank you very much for coming and enjoy the rest of the day.